Honestly, I'm just stunned that to this day, nobody ever pointed out that I misspelled aggravate in the original thumbnail. Hello, and welcome to the Sethos 102! The first and probably only 102 that I'll ever make. I don't really think it's a surprise that I like Sethos. He is featured in a lot of my videos over time, and I do try to use him wherever I can. I mean, my second video on the channel was about him. It was the first 101 I ever made. And it shows that it was the first 101 that I ever made, because it was kind of bad. Ever since I've figured out my style more, I've wanted to go back to that video and give Sethos the proper treatment he deserves. And this video is going to be long enough, so I'm going to just shut up and get right into it. The first and last 102, Sethos 102. In my opinion, Sethos is hands down the most interesting carry in the game because he has two distinct playstyles. The first style is essentially gone over in his passives. Sethos, like many other charge shot carries, has two levels to his charged attack. Level 1 is your basic run-of-the-mill electro arrow. It looks very pretty, especially when shot at night, but that's kind of all there is to it. His second level charge shot is a bit more interesting. He slowly begins to charge up this more powerful shot, and I mean slowly. It takes around 4 whole seconds for him to get it. He'll change stance, so you know you got it, and he's also, I'm pressing my keys here, I don't know if you can hear them, he can't move. He's locked in place whenever he charges this shot. Probably a little easier to illustrate if I'm moving while he actually gets it charged. Anyways, this shot does not act like a normal arrow at all. This is more of a hit scan beam. It can pierce through walls, it can hit multiple enemies, and the hitbox comes out nearly instantly as compared to a regular charge shot which has travel time. You know, it's a projectile. If an enemy's moving, you have to aim ahead of them. Additionally, this charge shot gets a little bit higher attack scaling, but more importantly, it gets talent scaling based on Sethos' elemental mastery. I'll just say it right now, Sethos is primarily an EM scaling character. He ends up getting played in a lot of reaction-focused teams, so he gets to double dip in what his EM does. It increases his talent damage and his reaction damage. Another small difference between these two shots that doesn't really matter that much. Both of them have no ICD and will apply electro on every single hit, but the level 2 charge shot, which is called a shadow piercing shot, I don't know if I'm going to use that name, that's not really much shorter. It applies 2 units of electro, whereas his normal level 1 only applies 1 unit. This can be relevant in things like electrocharge, where the stronger electro application makes it easier to get an electro aura and therefore get an electro swirl, but most of the time it doesn't really matter. The important thing to note is that they both apply electro every hit. In any case, this charge shot doesn't really seem like a meaningful reward for how long it takes to charge, so what's up with that? That's where his passives come in. Let me grab some energy. This is perhaps my favorite aspect about Sethos' kit. Alright, there we go. Let's get out of here. This is what this massive chunk of words means. If Sethos has any amount of energy, he will use that energy to speed up the animation of his charge shot, and you can see he gets it nearly instantly. And now you can see by my burst in the corner, when he fires the shot, he will use that energy. A level 2 charge shot will only ever take a maximum of 20 energy, so Sethos, with his 60 cost burst, can do 3 charge shots from full energy. Even if he has less than 20 energy, he can still use that to speed up the charge shot, but it won't be sped up by as much. Now, another interesting thing to note about this passive is that it consumes energy over time while he's charging the shot, meaning that you can use it to speed up the charge speed of a level 1 charge shot, but not consume all the energy that a level 2 charge shot would. Like, I'm just gonna spam them now. From a little bit below full energy, I can spam out 6 quick level 1 charge shots. And while the attack scaling is a little lower and the EM scaling is non-existent, this can still be a worthy playstyle because it gets out a lot more application. Level 1 charge shots do less raw damage, but you can use them to spam reactions. Later on, when I'm looking at the teams, I do have one team that solely uses level 1 charge shots, but a lot of the time you can swap back and forth between them depending on what you need. Also, do not take my talent levels as recommendation. I only crowned his normal attacks because I like him. This isn't really a smart thing to do. But whichever playstyle you choose, Sethos' charge shot playstyle has probably the most unique interaction with energy in the entire game, which is one of the many reasons why I love him so much. He can essentially convert extra energy directly into damage by using that energy to get off more charge shots. This is a thing that I'm really going to go into when I talk about his builds and things, but that is one of the core things I love about Sethos. Because he has this really unique interaction with energy, you can build and play him in a lot of different ways. Anyways, so what's this little hourglass going on here? That is given by his A4 passive. This gives him a ton of extra scaling on his level 2 charge shots based on his elemental mastery. 700% to be precise. That is a lot more than the scaling given by his talent. At level 10, I only get 242%. So this ascension passive is where most of the damage from his level 2 charge shots is gonna come from. And notably, it has a limitation that this damage bonus can only apply to 4 shadow piercing shots, or level 2 charge shots, whatever you want to call them. He gets this buff back after 15 seconds, but you generally play him in teams where you do around 15-second rotations. You can do faster, because this is Sethos and he's the coolest guy in the universe, but this usually means 4 level 2 charge shots will get this boost in your rotation. This kind of acts as a limiter to how much energy is really valuable on him. Because you lose a ton of the scaling on any level 2 charge shot past the 4th, it becomes less value to build a ton of energy on him to maybe get, I don't know, 10 level 2 charge shots out in a rotation. Conversely, after you get those 4 boosted charge shots, your level 1 charge shots then become a lot more valuable, because they still do have lower scaling, but they do always trigger a reaction, which in a lot of Sethos' teams, his damage is coming from triggering reactions, and they consume a lot less energy. On top of just not consuming the full 20 energy that it would take to charge a level 2 charge shot, they get a base 50% reduction of any energy that they consumed while charging. So as you saw, the same amount of energy it takes to fire 3 level 2 charge shots, you can fire around 7 level 1. Going through the rest of his kit real quick, his skill is pretty much the last thing relating to energy. Surprisingly, his burst has the least dynamic relationship with energy in his entire kit. Anyways, this pretty simple. He does a little swift step back. Good for creating space. He's a charge shot character. He's pretty frail. It's nice. Generates some particles. And if it triggers a reaction, it gives him a flat 12 energy immediately. This energy doesn't scale with energy recharge, but 12 is definitely a nice chunk, and it also gives this energy to him instantly, which often can change how you play him. Not to go too far into like combos and stuff yet, but generally if you're playing charge shot, what you want to do is do 1 charge shot before doing your skill. Well, missed. Please don't turn invisible like that next time. Anyways, you want to do that 1 charge shot first, so you're not at full energy and you can actually get the extra flat energy from the skill. Comparing to the rest of the cast, they tend to cast their skills before their burst, even at full energy, because they can use their energy before the particles fly through the air and your character collects them. I mean, yeah, it's pre-funneling. Definitely one of the more important kind of things to learn. I don't know, would I call it a technique? I guess it's a technique. Sethos can't pre-funnel that flat energy, so just make sure that you don't have full energy before hitting your skill, and also make sure that he's triggering a reaction with it so that he gets that energy in the first place. Anyways, burst. Like I said, least interesting interaction with energy. It's a burst. It costs 60 energy. When he uses it, he loses all his energy. And it is certainly not the most interesting thing in the world. It pretty much just gives his normal attacks an electro infusion and some scaling on his elemental mastery. The elemental mastery scaling is solely dependent on his burst levels, which is another reason why you shouldn't really bother crowning his normals. But yeah, 8 seconds long. His normal attacks now do electro damage, and they scale with his elemental mastery. Not all too crazy. Oh yeah, and these normal attacks travel instantly, like his level 2 charge shot. Let's run away so you can get your health back and I can continue test dummying on you. This is probably where I should talk about combos. I didn't need that scarab, I just wanted to pick up the bug and put him in my pocket. In any case, the elemental mastery scaling is flat. It doesn't change based on the scaling of his hit, it's just extra damage added onto his normal attacks based on his elemental mastery. That means you want to maximize quantity over quality. You don't care about big normal attacks, you just care about getting out as many normal attacks as possible, which also helps him with his reaction-based stuff. More normal attacks means more reactions. The second attack in his normal attack combo, you probably saw, is these 2 quick arrow shots. Meanwhile, his third is this slow jump attack that he does. In short, you want to avoid doing the third normal attack by any means necessary. It's a big loss in your damage, which means you're gonna want to do cancels. And the best, but also the hardest cancels to do are walk cancels. You can do dash cancels. The timing is less strict because dashes allow you to cancel out of animations. You can see even some of these, I'm only firing off 1 arrow. Walk cancels don't let you do that. You see, I'm holding W here, and he walks as soon as his second normal attack animation is over, which allows him to reset his combo and do his first 2 normal attacks again. But if you mess up this combo and click a little too quickly, he ends up doing a 3rd normal attack. Very, very slow. Did I already say that dash cancels consume a lot of stamina and they're a little bit slower? Well, I meant to. Anyways, yeah, this is Sethos' optimal combo. And I'd say I've gotten decent at walk cancels. Nothing crazy, but the better you get at walk cancels, the more you get out of your Sethos. Another reason why I love Sethos so much, he is a character who heavily rewards skill. The better you get at doing walk cancels, or even just doing things like thinking on the fly, aiming with his charge attack, doing charge attack level 1s, all that stuff, the better you get, the more Sethos rewards you. And if you can play him well, Sethos can end up being a pretty high performing character. Did a tumbleweed just like break on my shins?
If you're always asking why, you end up thinking yourself into a corner. Sometimes it's better to let go.
I guess I'm letting go. Anyways, this is the last cool thing I think I'm going to talk about in this section. It's that his burst also converts his normal attack damage to charged attack damage. These beams are considered charged attacks, and I think that really brings the entire kit together, because it makes it so that his burst playstyle and his charge attack playstyle both benefit from the same effects and can use the same gear. In my original video, I talked a lot about how I wasn't the biggest fan of burst Sethos, and while I still definitely am a much bigger fan of charge shot style, I've come around because I realized they're not mutually exclusive. And a lot of my favorite Sethos teams end up using both, because you can do both. If you're primarily using his burst playstyle, but have extra energy in the rotation, you can use that energy to do level 2 charge shots and sneak extra damage out of him. They also have much different applications. His normal attack playstyles have more consistent, better AoE, so I like using it in like electrocharge teams, but his charge shots have more directed, controllable, high burst damage, and they don't really give up much of the AoE of his burst playstyle. So if you're doing the burst playstyle, and you're doing decent damage to a whole group of enemies, you run out of your infusion and you notice, hey, there's a guy over there who has like a sliver. Instead of having to do a whole new rotation on him, you can just smack him with a charge shot and he dies. These nuances are what I love so much about Sethos. Yes, he has 2 separate playstyles, 3 if you really want to break down the charge shot into level 1 and level 2, but you don't have to choose between them, and I find that he works best if you don't. If you manage to weave his burst playstyle, his level 2 charge shots, and his level 1 charge shots together, that's when you can get the most out of Sethos. The burst offers the most consistent AoE damage and the highest DPS overall. The level 2 charge shots offer a lot of utility and burst damage, while not giving up the AoE that the burst playstyle has. And the level 1 charge shots have the lowest damage and the worst AoE, but they're by far the best at reaction spamming. My favorite way to play Sethos is by giving him access to all those utilities and changing up which you use on a case-by-case basis. Now, I think the gear section is going to be a little bit long, so I'm going to take a little break, I guess, with constellations. C1 is if you're only using level 2 charge shots, then 15 crit rate, great, love it, no complaints. But the fact that this doesn't apply to his burst or his level 1 charge shots, it kind of hurts him a lot. I mean, I just got done talking about why I like all of the pieces of his kit together. This becomes a bit more relevant at C6. I'm jumping ahead. C6 essentially gives him a free level 2 charge shot. It refunds the energy that was used to spend it. but because you still have a maximum limit of 4 boosted charge shots from his A4 passive, that effect matters a lot more in teams where you weren't going to be using 4 level 2 charge shots. But in teams where you're spamming level 1s, or you only do, say, 2 or 3 level 2 charge shots, or maybe you don't do them at all and you're just using his burst, the extra level 2 charge shot is pretty nice for all the same utility reasons that I mentioned. You can use it to front load a little bit of damage, you can use it to kill an enemy. It's such a flexible tool that while this isn't a great DPS upgrade on paper, I think C6 is really good for the extra utility that it gives Sethos. At least I think. I don't have it. But as someone who plays a lot of Sethos, I can easily see the value that a free extra charge shot would get me. In any case, C1 makes it a little bit better. And as mentioned, if you're only doing level 2 charge shots, then this is great. So yeah, if you're only doing level 2 charge shots, it's great. If you're doing anything else, and it gets a little bit better with C6. C2 is honestly maybe his best constellation. It's almost an unconditional 30% electro damage bonus. He gets 15%, max of 2 stacks, and he can gain it in one of 3 ways. Consuming energy through aimed shots, this can be either level 1 or level 2 charge shots, getting flat energy from his skill, or just using his burst. Getting the flat energy through his skill is something that you do in every playstyle, so even if you're only doing charge shots or only doing burst, you'll get the full 30% from this. Normal attack levels are whatever. A lot of his teams are relying on reaction damage, not talent damage, and even in the talent damage ones, that talent damage isn't really coming from his normal attack talent. For charge shots, it's coming from A4. For burst, it's obviously coming from burst. It can be good in some situations, but generally not the best. I guess I should actually point out, the reason why the 30% electro damage bonus is so much better than the extra talent scalings is that aggravate damage will scale with damage bonus. Spoiler alert. Sethos is pretty good in aggravate. It's one of his best teams, by far his best in single target. And yeah, damage bonus affects aggravate, but talent levels do not. C4 is numerically very good buff, 80% elemental mastery to everybody. He is an elemental mastery scaler himself. He appreciates the 80 EM, and he also has a fair amount of teams where his teammates trigger a lot of reactions or just are straight up EM scalers. Like in the aforementioned aggravate, Fischl can benefit from EM. She gets a lot of aggravate damage there. If you're running Nahida, she gets a lot from the EM. Blah, blah, blah. What makes this not so great is the condition. Either his level 2 charge shot or his burst has to hit 2 or more opponents. So it only works in AoE scenarios. His best team of aggravate falls off a little bit in AoE, although this is a pretty big boon to electrocharge teams because reaction ownership is kind of all over the place there, so it's nice to just give everybody some EM. But on top of that, I mean, I don't really have to tell you, you already know, there aren't a ton of AoE scenarios in Genshin Endgame. So it's pretty good if you can activate it, but that's a pretty big if. C5 is burst levels. I would argue this is better than normal attack levels. This does come down to how you end up playing him, but in his burst playstyle, burst levels give EM scaling. They do contribute a fair amount of talent damage. He's still getting a lot of extra damage from reactions, but the levels don't hurt. And I already talked about C6. I think numerically, C2 is the best. It just gives him straight up damage bonus, which he appreciates a lot. But the utility of C6 is not to be understated. Again, this is very dependent on how you play him, because doing a level 2 charge attack spam team, sure, the free charge shot is nice, but it's not really offering that much. Because you're not getting the additional scaling from A4, you're just going off the base scaling of the shadow piercing shot damage, which isn't the best. You get 1 extra of those, whoop-de-doo. Teams where you're not using any charge shots at all, that's a lot of extra scaling. Whoop-de-doo, but for real this time. So yeah, most universal, easily C2. The rest are dependent on your exact playstyle and the content you're going up against, and their value can end up changing a lot. C2 just straight up gives good stats to every playstyle. All right, now let's move on to gear. So let's get started. I only really consider Sethos to have 2 weapon options, maybe 3. The only 2 that I ever use on him are Slingshot and Fav Bow. Do not underestimate Slingshot. I'm not exaggerating at all when I say this. I know I gas up lower rarity things, but I'm just like, this is factual, this is provable, mathematically true. Slingshot is Sethos's second best weapon. Only thing that compares, Tighnari's signature bow, Hunter's Path. This thing does not exist. It's gonna show up on the Chronicled banner once in a blue moon whenever Hoyo feels like it. Now to be fair, there is a decent chance of a Sumeru Chronicled banner coming up in the near future. With the release of the Inazuma one, Hoyo seems to actually want to make this a somewhat consistent thing. And of course, Sumeru is the next region up. So it's possible that this will come around soon. But even so, I wouldn't recommend it because Slingshot is just so good. The first hunt is, did I say Viridescent Hunt before? That's not Tighnari's bow. I might have said Viridescent Hunt. First Great Hunt is, no, I'm getting all the bows mixed up. That's First Great Magic. Hunter's Path. Hunter's Path is what it's called. Hunter's Path is better than Slingshot, but the Slingshot is more than good enough. Sethos is an EM scaling character, so he doesn't care as much about the low base attack, and it gives him a stupid amount of crit rate and a stupid amount of damage percent. Slingshot has this condition where the charge shot has to hit within 0.3 seconds of it being fired, but Sethos, his charge shots basically travel instantly. I don't even know if it's possible to not get that 60% damage. It might be, but you'll probably have to be standing on the edge of his range. So yeah, Slingshot, incredible option for his damage. Oh no, there's no battle pass, so I can't even make fun of the Scion of the Blazing Sun it's called, I think. I just have to go back to the archive. But yeah, before you ask, Hoyo is trying to trick you. I know Scion of the Blazing Sun shows up in his splash art. I know it shows up in his trailer. Slingshot is better than this weapon. Even at R5. Slingshot is better. That's how stupid Slingshot is. So yeah, if you're going for damage, just use Slingshot unless you already have, I forgot the name, Hunter's Path? I'm gonna look this up to make sure it's right. Yes, it is called Hunter's Path. Unless you already have Hunter's Path, just go Slingshot. If you really, really, really love your Sethos, I mean, I'm always gonna push people away from the weapon banner. I think it's just straight up evil. But if you know that you're gonna be using Sethos as one of your only carries for a long time, then you can maybe pull Hunter's Path. Even if that is the case, I am still gonna recommend just go Slingshot, and instead of pulling weapons to improve Sethos' damage, maybe pull constellations for other teammates. Like, I don't know, Nahida C2. That wasn't an endorsement for Nahida C2, it was just an example. Anyways, if you're just doing damage, just use Slingshot. Don't worry about anything else. Don't even think about the whale options. Slingshot is too good. Now for the whack option of Fav Bow, this is where Sethos' relationship to energy recharge comes in. Between the fat ER subset and the extra particles you get, Fav Bow pretty much lets him charge shot spam indefinitely on its own. I found that you don't need to build any extra energy recharge. All you need is Fav Bow. He's already building crit rate, so that's not really a condition. He pretty much gets those particles for free. And actually, you know what? I should say, to be fair, I have only used an R5 Fav Bow on him, which decreases the cooldown on the particles. And since he's triggering those particles so consistently, pretty much off cooldown, the refinements matter a lot to him. On a lower refined Fav Bow, where you can only get those particles every 12 seconds on an R1, you might need some extra ER substats. But yeah, R5 Fav Bow, perfect. Don't even need to think about anything else. As for artifacts, I'd say he also has pretty much two options, one of which you'll see here, and they pretty much serve the same purpose. Thundering Fury is going to be your lower damage, but more weird spammy energy stuff option, and Wanderer's Troop is going to be your raw damage option. Let me just do some actual gameplay now to show this off. Thundering Fury giving him a lower skill cooldown.
Way ahead. Into space. Behind you.
Even with no other energy coming from the rest of the team, save Nahida, but like, I don't know, she's not contributing much. It's 3 particles of a different element. With the cooldown reduction from Thundering Fury, I'm able to just spam level 1 charge shots indefinitely. Because, you know, skill generates energy. Getting skill on a lower cooldown means more energy. Not the most complicated thing in the world. In general, I'd say both Fav Bow and Thundering Fury are pretty niche options on Sethos. Even in teams where I get a fair amount of charge shots, I've found myself using Wanderer's Troop and Slingshot more. But these are 2 options that unlock some of Sethos' weirder teams, and I probably will be using them throughout the showcase. But in general, I'm gonna say your choice should probably be with Wanderer's Troop and Slingshot, unless you really know what you're doing and you know you're gonna use the extra energy that these two sets of gear can give you, you probably do just want to go with a more traditional damaging build. Oh god, I've just finished my first day of recording. I'm already an hour and a half in. Can't wait to see how long this one gets. I guess before I cut for the day, I can just look at his artifacts. In general, crit stats and EM, you can never go wrong with those. Attack isn't useless. He still does have attack scalings in his normal attack. They're just not that good. EM is always going to be better. Not always, but most of the time. I'll show off at least one attack scaling Sethos team, depending on exactly what sort of playstyle you're going for. ER is pretty valuable, but he generates a fair amount of energy himself, and he is often played in double electro. Fischl is a pretty common teammate of his, so his absolute minimum ER needs can get very low. I'm talking like 110, 120. If you don't want to be doing any charge shot stuff, or you have C6 and the only charge shot you do is the free one, he has next to no energy needs. The more silly charge shot stuff you want to do, the higher the needs go. My main stats, pretty obvious: EM, electro damage, crit damage. Actually, I should have changed this. I had this built for, slingshot. But swapping a fav, I should be on a crit rate. I'm not really going to show this off, am I? This ratio could also be a little bit better, but I think I'm going to save most of the team testing stuff for another day. We're just going to cut it here. This is Sethos recording number 1. Okay, day 2. Let's go Sethos. I'm going to start with what is probably the simplest, most popular archetype, which is aggravate. And this is one of the most basic aggravate team structures. We need a Dendro applier, we need someone who can shred res, and then a second electro off-fielder who most of the time is going to be Fischl, which let's take a second to talk about this. Like most electro carries, Sethos' strength in aggravate comes from his ability to capitalize on Fischl's strength in aggravate. Let me fix this before someone makes fun of me for it. They let you save configurations, but they don't just let you save individual loadouts. They don't, like, if you swap one of the pieces, I could do like check alternatives. If you swap one of these pieces, it doesn't, there's no save for that. You can only save like search parameters. It sucks. Yeah, I'm so happy that I wasn't excited for this, because man, I would have been disappointed. Just give us artifact loadouts. It's really not that hard. You're making things way more complicated than they need to be. Okay, real gameplay now. So yeah, aggravate Sethos isn't really about how good he is. It's a lot about how good Fischl is. So, I did a 180 from the last Sethos video, going from talking way too much about Fischl to talking about her not at all. She's good in aggravate because of her A4 passive. You trigger a lot of aggravates, she gets a lot of damage from that. Sethos is good because he applies a lot of electro, he triggers a lot of aggravates, and can trigger a lot of Fischl A4 passives. That's really all you need to know. This is like the most basic aggravate team you can have. Since this is more of a traditional team that uses Sethos as a dedicated on-fielder, you pretty much only use his burst. You can use charge attacks like I did at the end here, just to finish off the enemy without wasting all your energy, but for the most part, because of the burst playstyle's superior DPS and higher rate of application, you just do burst, and you don't think too much about charge shots. Because Fischl generates so much energy for Sethos, you can do charge shots if you find that you have a little bit extra in your rotations, and they do a good source of burst damage, as they always do, but it can interfere with your burst here.
The Temple of Wisdom. Midnight
Frankly, I don't have too much to say about this one. It's a very run-of-the-mill Sethos team. This is one of his highest damage teams in single target. So while sticking with the Fischl versions, let's look at some alternatives for the other 2 slots. Starting with xilonen, because there's really only one other option here, that being sucrose. Yes, you can use Kazuha, he gives very similar buffs to xilonen, but if you're going through the trouble of using an animo unit and you have access to sucrose, I just say go sucrose. The main difference between sucrose and Kazuha is the buffs that they give. Kazuha gives damage percent, where sucrose gives EM. These are both very strong buffs, so they end up being pretty close to each other in a lot of teams that can make use of each respective stat. But Sethos, as I talked about before, double dips in his EM stat. Not only does he get reaction damage out of it, but he gets raw talent scaling as well. So sucrose giving a ton of EM makes her the best in slot. Well, in that case, why am I using xilonen? She gives the same buffs as kazuha, and if sucrose is better than kazuha, then she's also better than xilonen. Well, now we have to acknowledge the cabbage in the room, because she brings the dendro application you need while also doing a ton of personal damage herself and bringing an EM buff through her burst. All really great things for the damage of aggravate teams. But that comes with a bit of a downside. And you may have seen it in how I was setting up against Simon. You can see in my setup, if I want to get an electro aura on the enemy so I can get a crystallize using xilonen, I have to use both Fischl and Sethos. Because Nahida's dendro application is so strong that she just eats up whatever one unit can apply. Xilonen, who doesn't have her res shred tied to triggering a reaction, unlike Animo units, if you mess up your rotation and you can't get an Electro Aura, you still can get an Electro Res Shred. Additionally, by including Nahida, that means your Dendro application isn't a defensive unit. She's not a shieler or a healer, and Sethos is very squishy, as proven by his current health. He really likes to have a healer or shielder. So yes, Nahida is a very good high damage option, but she brings along some gameplay difficulties and inconsistencies, and I think xilonen helps a lot to patch those up. Actually, another thing about Nahida that I maybe spent a little too long on in my first Sethos video, her strong Dendro application can also mean that you miss a few of your aggravates. Her personal damage is more than enough to make up for those lost aggravates, but it is still sort of something you should think about.
Where you headed?
Odds revealed. Like the mountain face portal.
See, just wisdom into space.
Let's leave her alone. The Temple of Wisdom.
As you wish, mate.
Bring it.
See, oh, like in that setup there, I don't think I got my Electro Crystallize. Yeah, no, looks like I didn't. Didn't get any Crystallize, no damage bonus going on. But I still can get my Res Shred. So yeah, Nahida, fantastic premium option, but if you want to use her, you're probably going to want to go for xilonen. Now, some non-Nahida teams, we can switch over to Sucrose, but that means we make our Dendro unit our defensive unit. So we're choosing between baizhu, Yao Yao, and my personal favorite of Kirara. Funny enough, Yao Yao can have some similar issues at C6 to Nahida, because this additional radish has no ICD and always applies Dendro. You can end up losing your Electro Aura pretty easily. If you don't have C6 Yao Yao, that's not a problem, but if you do, maybe look out for that. That's part of the reason why I still feel like I get good use out of baizhu. That's bad for any variation of Bloom teams or trying to use him as a spread DPS if you really want to do that. But on the flip side, he's a great defensive option in aggravate teams. He does have a 20-second cooldown burst, which aggravate teams often rotate faster than 20 seconds. It's not a problem because he still can just use his skill for application every rotation, but just note that you probably won't be getting this shield every rotation. Guess I could do one run with him. Oh, and for gear, usually you just run Nahida on Deepwood because she is doing a lot of significant Dendro damage, so the Res Shred is very nice on her. But if you're not running Nahida in the team, then you don't really have much Dendro damage going on. And in that case, I run Instructors. Let's see how this works out. Ooh, not bad at all. This is actually my exact baizhu loadout. Thank you. Thank you, Fast Equip. You actually did the right thing for once. And, oh, well, you can use Hakushin Ring. It's functional. It's not, like, bad, but I think in general I just prefer sack bags on Sucrose. Gives you a lot more flexibility, gives some EM. Another thing to note about Sucrose, when compared to Kazuha and xilonen, you often use Fischl in your setup as your source of Electro application. You can do some stuff with like level 1 charge shots on Sethos or just like use his skill, but Fischl just provides some good strong Electro application. But as most of you probably know, Oz snapshots when he's created. But funny thing about snapshotting, he will miss out on the damage bonus that xilonen or Kazuha would give, but EM doesn't get snapshotted for any reactions except amplifying. So Fischl, who is doing an additive reaction, aggravate, is benefiting from Sucrose's EM buff, even if you use her as your setup. Let's just do this. Oh, I need to get some energy on you, my guy.
By royal ridiculous. Animal test 60.
Excuse me. Move or be moved.
Whoa, whoa, you're not allowed to do that.
Midnight Phantasm.
Bitter pill to swallow.
Absorption test.
I swear this team is better than I'm making it look. I'm just bad at it.
By royal. Stand clear.
Sage's wisdom.
Oh, I'm really making it look worse than it is.
Way ahead. Don't mind the sight.
Wings of darkness. Swirl. Mark 2. Animal test.
Come on.
Absorption.
Thank you. Oh, I suck at this. Whatever. I think it did well enough. I'll do one more run to see if I can get a decent clear where I don't completely flub everything. I might actually start with baizhu burst. I might do something where I like start with his burst. Oh, come on.
Excuse me. Move or be moved. Way ahead. Midnight Phantasma.
Stand clear.
Where'd you go? Funny guy.
Remember, health comes first.
I summon thee. Absorption test.
Behind you. Behind you. Excuse me.
I'm also a little more inclined to do charge shots in this team, because it can rotate very quickly, and you know, unlike burst playstyle, charge shots aren't limited by any sort of cooldown. He can only burst once every 15 seconds, he can charge shot for as much energy as he gets. And he can get a fair amount here with Fischl and baizhu, who I pretty much always run on Fav. As we're going to see throughout these teams, one of my favorite things about Sethos, I think I'm just going to keep saying that over and over, because everything is my favorite thing about Sethos. He's a unit that can have extremely variable field time, and depending on what other units are in the team, he can do different things. I kind of like baizhu because he makes the team feel like, I don't know, is frantic the right word?
Mind the sight as you wish.
Animal test. 63.
Behind you.
Enhanced animal module 75. And protect you with C. By royal.
Excuse me.
Oh, where'd he go? I'm just messing up on all my my rotation stuff here.
Wings of dark. Animal test 63.
There we go. This is definitely a little bit harder to play well, but it's maybe my preferred aggravate team. Anyways, back to the more standard aggravate stuff with Kirara. So another thing about Kirara, she can function as a solo Dendro option, but she doesn't have any off-field application until C4. This is where you get the kind of more traditional on-field Sethos team. Before C4, you still can use her, but you're gonna need to do something a little more quick swappy where she alternates between using her skill and her burst, which is gonna play more like that baizhu team and maybe prefer charge shots over the burst playstyle, or a mix of the two. You also, do I want to deal with Sapwood? Sapwood is probably gonna be one of your best like accessible options. If you have Ki, use Ki. There's not a ton of great supportive swords. Maybe I should actually, I think I have some sword billets. I think I can refine this thing. I love getting sidetracked. I love getting sidetracked. Hi, Eon-san. For some reason, Eon-san has just been standing here at the crafting table. I know the reason. I know that it's a new event, but I might never do this Eon-san event because it's funny to just have her standing here with her hand out. Is she trying to touch my butt? I think she is. Let's make a sapwood. Why, hey. And we quick equip her to mostly the same stuff that baizhu was using. Okay, all right, fine. Maybe I like quick equip. Maybe I like fast equip? Fast equip. Maybe I like it. Maybe it's a little bit useful. It could be better. It could very easily be better. But it is also better than nothing. Alright. Sethos. Let's get some more energy on Sethos so we can properly rotate and then go whoop.
Stand clear.
Pick up that. Pick up the leaf. Pick up the leaf. I can't get to the leaf.
Animal test 63.
Excuse me. Sage's wisdom.
I think I still can't get to the leaf. God. Alright, maybe we don't use sapwood for the leaf annoyances. Let's try that one more time. Maybe I don't think about leaf.
By royal decree. Kirara! Absorption test. Animal hypostasis emulate.
Way ahead. Move or be moved.
I know I'm doing the thing that I said you're not supposed to do regarding using the skill before I use his burst.
Midnight Venta.
Animal test 60.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Where's this guy?
Excuse me?
Gone. Dead. Ripped to pieces. Now I'm gonna do one more time just to see what big numbers I can get out of Sethos.
Coming through. Odds reveal. Absorption test.
Excuse me?
Oh wait, I want to see big numbers, so I need to do charge shot. Oh, I'm a moron. Whatever. Good rotation. At the very least.
On you!
57,000.
Excuse me?
Beautiful, wonderful. And I think I'm going to call it there for aggravate teams and get into some of the funkier ones. And I'll just use a slot. This is going to be more of an option for other teams because, as a lot of you pointed out, Kudrosara is a big damage loss over Fischl. Fischl does so much heavy lifting in aggravate teams because of her infamous A4 passive. I like how coaching aggravate teams play with Sara, but I can't really say the same for Sethos. Sorry, buddy. It is potentially an option, but you should probably just use Fischl. I recorded this whole video and I forgot to talk about the Tighnari team. And then, are you still on TF? You still are on TF. Realistically, I should have him on Wanderer's Troop as well, but I don't have 2 Wanderer sets. So we're just gonna have to live with this. I think in general my gear is gonna be pretty scuffed for this team because I use Polar Star Tighnari. That means Fischl is gonna have to do, I don't know. I guess Viridescent Hunt doesn't hurt. Whatever, let's just go. Let's just go. This is gonna be a fun one because I actually have not played this one. I have a kind of a clear idea of how it will go, and I have a feeling that Fischl may not be the best last slot. I'll see if I can really think of anyone else I would want to use. Let's just do this. Let's just do this.
This may for you. Odds reveal.
And shroud! I'll uproot you!
Committed to memory. Sharing my knowledge. Wings of dark.
Actually, you know what? Maybe Fischl does feel pretty good here. I don't know how much of this is actually Sethos doing the damage, but you know, Tighnari is a unit that kind of can't use up a bunch of field time. He does his charge shots and then doesn't really have much else to do. So slotting in Sethos with his charge shot playstyle that plays very, very similar to Tighnari, it feels good. I will not deny that. It feels very good. And you know, Fischl is just there doing her Fischl thing. Ton of damage, ton of energy.
I hear everything! Way ahead!
Make yourselves at home. This way.
One with the force. Let's nip that in the bud.
Whoa, whoa, not enough energy on Fischl. What happened here?
Committed to memory. Shadow Raven.
Excuse me?
Beautiful. That was a lot easier than I thought it would be, and it actually works better than I thought it would. Good team. Philly team.
Can't see? I'll uproot you!
Sharing my knowledge.
Give me some space.
No, Fischl just doesn't have enough energy here. I don't know what's going on.
Way ahead!
Where is the guy? There he is.
Midnight Phantasmagoria. Committed to memory.
Give me some space.
Yippee! Yeah, I don't know. Simple. Fun. I think potentially... Nahida, you're probably just gonna want her here. She does a lot of damage. She does the Dendro application. I guess you could use someone else. I don't know. You probably could use someone else. Use like DMC. Maybe baizhu or kirara or Yo-Yo if you wanted more a defensive option. But I actually think I'm gonna go to replace Fischl. Perhaps this is an Eon-san situation. I like this a little less than I like it with tighnari Yai, because Sethos doesn't have good attack scalings like Yai does, but he still does have attack scalings, and also he benefits from the damage percent from the scroll.
Excuse me.
Alright, actually maybe I don't like Eon-san. This team I feel rotates just a tad too quickly for her. What is her cooldown? What is her cooldown? It is, yeah, 18 seconds. That's a little rough. I think I prefer Fischl in this slot, or maybe just someone else who can rotate at the speed of the team. Maybe even Yai, actually. I could do that. I don't have incredibly high hopes because she could slow things down, but I might as well try it. Making videos longer for no reason is my favorite thing in the world. I don't know if you could tell.
Commit it to memory. Make yourselves at home. Right here, right now. Emerge.
Let's nip that in the bud. Way ahead.
I'm actually gonna do level 1 charge shots with Sethos.
Right now. Emerge. Right now.
Okay, wait.
One with the force. I'll uproot you.
Wait, maybe I do like it. Maybe I do like it better than Fischl. Because you kind of do have the extra field time. You, like, can spare it. She's not, like, really slowing much down at all. Only issue is that you only burst every other rotation, but, like, that's every Yai team. She usually doesn't even have enough energy to do that. Neato. Nice stuff. On to those other teams. Sethos is an electro carry, so he pretty much gets access to all the same teams that they do. That being aggravate, taser, and overload. But I think the thing that most people don't really think about, I see a lot of people say that Sethos is locked to aggravate. And while it's true that that's his best team, the reason behind that is because he applies a lot of electro and his talent levels scale with EM. That has a lot of synergy with aggravate because aggravate lets you trigger a ton of reactions over and over and over. You don't need a ton of dendro to trigger a lot of aggravates. Why you can get away with using someone like Kirara as your only dendro unit. So aggravate is the best outlet for Sethos, but it is certainly not the only one. Those factors, applying a lot of your element and scaling with EM, can be very relevant in other reaction-based teams. And you know, I said as much when Olimar came out. I made a video about how Sethos has a new best team. Maybe Yelan for the shorter rotations, we'll see. I mean, I'll mess around with other stuff and I'll, you know, say how it functions. So maybe I did jump the gun a little bit on calling it his new best team, because that is conditional. It has to be AoE content. Electrocharge performs a lot better in AoE, and Aggravate performs a lot worse. Primarily because Fischl's A4 passive has a half-second cooldown, so even if you trigger a reaction on 4 enemies in a row, only one of those enemies is going to be taking Fischl damage. The Electrocharge reaction bounces between enemies and gains more damage the more there are, pretty similar to how Beto works, and Olimar has all of his AoE stuff going on. The base scaling of his main damage source, his lightning bolts, are only 160%, and they only trigger once every 1.8 seconds, but they can hit up to 4 enemies. So he does kinda meh damage in single target, but he scales very well in AoE. And also his burst is a pretty nice source of AoE damage. So yeah, in AoE content, Electrocharge can pull ahead of Aggravate, and he still makes use of his strengths. He applies a lot of Electro, he can trigger a lot of Electrocharges, and those Electrocharges will be dealing significant damage because you build him with EM anyways. This, what I have set up right here, is a bit of a glass cannon team. You might prefer running a animal healer like Thayu, maybe Jean. Honestly, alright, hear me out. Hear me out. I know I have said mean things about her, but now that I look at it, I think that this is actually a pretty good application for Mizuki. Kind of the one cool thing that Mizuki can do, in my opinion, I should say. You know, if you like Mizuki, power to you. I'm so happy that she has fans. But in my eyes, the one cool thing that she can do, she has healing attached to a 15-second cooldown burst. Both Sayu and Jean have 20-second cooldowns on their burst. So while they do consolidate res shred and healing, in teams like this that do 15-second rotations, they're gonna slow the team down. I'm kind of yoinking this from a free-to-play Kuching video, where that was also his point there, is that Mizuki can fit into 15-second rotations and be an animo healer. In the Kuching Aggravate teams that he showed off, generally xilonen is just gonna be better. But electrocharge has a lot of incentive to run animo units. They often provide grouping, which Mizuki does. It's not great grouping, it's just one instance on her burst, but it is grouping. That helps with AoE damage. And more importantly, they can trigger swirls, which trigger further chain reactions. They can end up contributing a lot of reaction damage in electrocharge teams. So yeah, maybe Sethos electrocharge will be the reason that I end up building Mizuki. I could try her out a little bit now, but you know, she's not built. She's gonna be healing a miserable amount. I could level this up a tad, I guess. I have the resources. I can only get it to level 3. That's another cool thing about her, is because she front loads her energy generation, she can actually make a pretty decent use of sac frags and become a bit of a battery. Not that I think anyone in this team will really need it, but the extra energy could be nice.
Yeah, I probably should have just used Hakushin Ring.
God. Oh no. Oh god. I'm gonna level up Mizuki Dispatch, aren't I? This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Why must I be insane? I already need to level up Shenhe and now Chongyun. Why must I put more work on myself? I didn't even check if Yelan was equipped. I just assumed that everyone was equipped, and I'm probably wrong. I am probably wrong. Let me make sure. Oh yeah, okay. Okay, well, it actually did get it right. That's all the stuff that she should be on. This is just what I equipped my Yelan on. Fine, whatever. I maybe should stop discounting the fast equip. It's okay.
Go! You're free now!
Bad dreams be gone. Turn that frown upside.
Excuse me? Tell me what you see.
Turn that frown upside down. Yachon, Tachon.
Beam! Excuse me?
Quiet. Here comes the cash.
Farewell! Go! You're free now!
Sweet dreams. Bad dreams be gone. Busted.
I'm kind of with it. Alright. I've kind of figured it out. My energy needs aren't quite met, but if they were, I am certain the team would feel a little bit better. I enjoy it. I still think I prefer an older variant of this team that I used. Although Mizuki, it is kind of cool to find a use for Mizuki. I think I quite rather prefer going Kokomi and Kazuha. And actually, Kazuha, I think you are going on Sword. Admittedly, it is really nice to not have to swap around artifacts a ton. I'm sure this will be much easier once I actually get all my my things set up. Like fast equip options. Should talk a little bit more about, you know, Sethos himself in electrocharge teams. I'm also like messing up my rotation because it's been a little bit since I played this team, so you know, stick with me.
Allow me.
Not too far now. Time to say hello. Swing ahead.
Billowing surge.
Behind you. Excuse me. Tell me what you see. Piece of space.
Alright, I figured it out near the end there. Just need to do it better. I just need to do it better. This actually might be a candidate for Thundering Fury and Favbo, or maybe just one or the other.
Go! You're free now!
One with wind and cloud.
Excuse me? Behind you!
Covenant of the deep.
Oh shit, okay, well, just wasted verse.
Time to say hello. Way ahead!
Clouds high. The birds come. Wind strike.
Tell me what you see.
Ouch. Ouch.
Excuse me?
Please don't. Thank you.
Time to say hello.
One with wind and cloud.
Behind you.
I keep missing the refresh on Kokomi's jellyfish. So I'm just like throwing for fun.
Time to say hello. Farewell.
This could do better if I, was better at the game. I need to like remember how to play all these teams. So that first one was, more of a traditional on-field Sethos burst play style team, using the charge shots when an enemy is low. This one is certainly way more quick swappy, where we have a good amount of damage coming from both Faron and Kazuha. Kokomi, she's getting the application. It's not a crazy amount of damage, but healing and application in one slot, very nice. Also very good AoE application. Sethos is certainly not the main DPS. He's probably doing about as much damage as either Faron or Kazuha, but he's there to do very directed damage. He can swap in, do a charge shot, kill something that's low with a pretty big burst of damage, and this is especially pretty notable in electrocharge. It's an AoE team, it does way better in AoE. As a result, they can struggle to kill a single target that has higher HP. Like I run into a lot of times when testing with these bishops, I'll end up killing 5 in one wave, and then 1 is just left at almost full health. And Sethos, he could just kind of look over and nuke them, because he has such a strong source of burst damage. Now I really do want to try this out, I think with Thundering Fury, which I can make a new loadout for. Let's see how this runs.
Where you headed?
I actually think I've changed my mind, and I'm gonna swap to the other one. I'm not gonna do Thundering Fury. I'm gonna do the other thing. I'm just gonna do Favbo and Wanderer's Troop. Oh! It makes it so easy. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgive you. I forgive you, artifact loadouts. It's so easy. Even though you're not perfect, you're also not terrible. Now I am getting, I think I'm getting, better, more consistent
Go. You're free now.
charge shots, but they're doing a little less damage. Oh, but okay. I don't know why I'm doing burst for a second, but I guess I am. Okay, yeah, I think that was more the solution to make Sethos feel a little better here. Very quick swappy team. Sethos is really just trying to make the best use of what little field time he gets here, and that means doing big, high damage charge shots. I think Wanderer's Troop is probably your go-to here because Thundering Fury only really works in longer rotations where you stay on field with him longer and you can proc the cooldown reduction more times. Whereas Fav just, fatty R substat, gives him some extra particles, lets him get some extra charge shots out. With Favbo compared to Slingshot, your Slingshot damage is obviously much higher, the shots feel more impactful, but with that extra energy that Favbo gives you, you're also free to swap to him more if you scuff your rotation in any weird way, which, pretty easy in this team. Because he's getting more energy, he's able to swap in more times each rotation and do more charge shots. Accounting for the more charge shots, they end up doing around the same damage, but Fav, it requires a little more field time, but it also is more flexible. Anyways, there are all sorts of different electrocharge teams you can do. I've talked about electrocharge a lot in the past. It's a flexible archetype. That's like the selling point. You can go Yelan or Xingqiu. Where's Xingqiu? Where do you go? There he is. If you're doing more of a dedicated on-field burst play style, Kokomi, or actually also Sijuin. Kokomi's probably better because she has better application, but Sijuin would serve a kind of similar role here. Either of them can work quite well in a more quick swappy team. And Farina, I didn't look at Farina. She is a relatively powerful option with, of course, the caveat that you're gonna have to use an Animo healer or someone like Xilonen, but then you're giving up on a lot of reaction damage that you could get from an Animo unit. I've enjoyed Sayu in the slot in the past, but in general, I think I like the teams without Farina a little bit better. While Mizuki can be a good defensive option for teams without Farina, her healing generally isn't enough for Farina teams. So in that case, you are going to be stuck to the 20-second rotations that Sayu and Jean bring. Also, Farina herself uses 20-second rotations. Her skill is on a 20-second cooldown. It does have a 30-second uptime, so you can do 15-second rotations and only refresh her skill every other rotation. But as mentioned, your best healers are locked to 20 seconds. Anyways, this is my favorite Sethos Electrocharge team. There also exists a little offshoot of electrocharge. I guess, you know, the weird cousin of aggravate and electrocharge. I'll admit it, I'm not the biggest fan of Sethos and quickbloom, but it does work. I don't want to say that it doesn't work, because it does. You also don't have to run Farina baizhu. If you swap Farina out for someone like probably Xingqiu, you're going to want to use, but xilonen is also functional. In that case, you don't have to bring baizhu. I still like to bring a sustain option, but you could trade it out for someone like Kuki, who has healing, but it's worse. Could potentially do kokomi for some extra hydro application. Aforementioned kirara, also yao yao. I've also experimented with Auroron in this slot in the past. My point is that if you run either Xingqiu or xilonen in this slot, you have a lot of options for your fourth slot, but I'm just gonna do a Farina variation now. Let me just show why I'm not the biggest fan. When you're running quickbloom, you usually want to be using burst Sethos because, you know, that's a much more consistent source of application. You can trigger hyperblooms for a longer duration of time. But burst Sethos has a little thing with bosses. He often aims up and makes it harder to hit hyperblooms. You end up kind of having to do some charge shots to aim at them. You can stand closer to the boss, and that also can help trigger the hyperblooms with his normals. In any case, I think it feels a little bad, so I just tend not to play quickbloom Sethos. A potential solution for this is to just not run Farina. Let's just do xilonen because I know she's already geared. And then your fourth slot, you run something like Kuki or Raiden as like a more dedicated hyperbloom trigger. Gone. Incredible. I was gonna say it kind of feels a little pointless to have Sethos here in the first place if you're just gonna use another unit to trigger the hyperblooms, and I think that is a perfect illustration. Still did half his health even though Sethos immediately died and did no normals.
Grow, grow, grow! Make yourselves a room! Busted! Things up! Get with me!
Move! Give me some space! Where you headed?
Yeah, it doesn't actually perform all that much better. It can be kind of fun, it's easy, it's a lot less intensive on actual gameplay because not a lot of your damage is actually coming from Sethos himself if you use another hyperbloom trigger. I don't like it, but it's certainly something you can do. Another last little thing I should note is that in hyperbloom teams, it can also be pretty beneficial to run an EM goblet as well as an EM sands. Because so much of your damage is coming from reactions in aggravate and hyperbloom, and you still get a little bit of talent damage from getting EM, going EM crit can perform pretty well. Alright, now, after that little intermission, I'm gonna go on to the last style, which is, of course, oh wait, no, wrong pyro girl, it's overload. We'll start with a more, I guess, traditional overload team, where it is just kind of talent damage for the sake of talent damage. And actually here, I think this is a Gilded Xiangling moment. I think we're having a Gilded Xiangling moment.
Drop your weapon! My royal You asked for it! Eat this! Midnight fantastic!
Ouch.
Sage's wisdom! Empty space!
Stop right there!
No rest for the... Where you headed?
Not a ton to talk about here. Sethos does some okay talent damage, Fischl does some pretty good talent damage. Both of them together apply a ton of electro. It allows Xiangling to trigger overloads. Very basic overload team. This will work for essentially any electro carry. Sino, Chlorand, Varesa. I mean, Varesa you should probably be playing with the Onsan, but like, this works. Now let's look at the overload team that I like to play. I made a video about this in the past, and while this may not look too different from a team composition perspective, I assure you it plays very differently. This is like my insane team. This is my every video I at least have to show off one insane team, and this is it. And for this, actually I'm gonna go Polar Star. Okay. I think this is gonna be the last team, so I'm not gonna go insane. I came up with this while just trying to force a team where Sethos and Iansan work together. And I don't really know about like how good it really is. It just is like a weird, insane, funny synergy that works surprisingly well. I don't know if there's like maybe there's a combo that works better, maybe there's a unit that works better, but I like this team, so I'm showing it off. Essentially, what this does is it takes Iansan's requirement of movement to keep her buff high, and it combines that movement with Xiangling and Sethos's high elemental application. It's a team where you do a lot of moving, so you get reasonable talent damage, and you get a lot of reactions that also deal pretty good damage. Maybe I should stop talking and just show it off.
Stronger.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Where you heading? Behind you.
Oh no. I've already messed it up. Okay, I messed it up. You kind of get the point. Maybe you get the point. Hopefully you do. So yeah, it's wacky. It's goofy. It's wacky. It's silly.
Final warning. Control breathing.
Where you heading?
Oh, God. Oh, come on. Just kill this guy.
Hands where I can see 'em.
Yay, alright, we got him in one rotation. We totally got him in one rotation. I mean, I could have if I played it a little bit better and I didn't flub a little bit and mess up my application. Ian-san essentially came in and said, okay, you have to move around to keep my attack buff. Essentially, in order to keep Ian-san's attack buff high, we are dashing around the enemy. We're doing level 1 charge shots and doing dash cancels. And by dashing to the right, you make Pyronado hit faster and apply more pyro. The end goal is that you make Pyronado hit fast enough that Sethos can get a reaction on every single one of his level 1 charge shots. And because they cost so little energy, he can pretty much go for the entire duration of Xiangling's burst. It's a hard team, and it's a bit of a crazy one, but it's a lot of fun, and it performs surprisingly well. But yeah, Overload, just like these other past archetypes, extremely flexible. You can do stuff like this if you really want to. There are a lot of more traditional ones, like, you know, the last one I just showed. You can do stuff with Dea if she has constellations, you can do stuff with EI, you could do stuff with Malwika, so on, so on. Sethos, as a unit who can have a varying amount of field time, but generally keeps it pretty short, is open to a lot of different teams, especially as an Electro unit. In any case, I think I'm gonna cut it here. I hope I've fully conveyed why I love Sethos so much. He is insane. You can do so many things with him, and even like within one team, he can play in so many different ways. He keeps you on your toes, and he rewards good play. These are nowhere near all of the teams you can put Sethos in, and if you have any more that you like, please share them in the comments. I always love to find more situations where I can use Sethos, and I know they're out there. So, hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, you can do all the YouTube stuff, you know, interact with the video so you can tell the algorithm that you liked it. And I hope you all have a lovely day.